bid. Does anybody want to pull anything from the consent agenda? Okay. If not, then I'm going to read the resolution. Give me just a second. All right, I recommend that the consent agenda items 4A through 4I be approved as presented. Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Livingston.
Second.
Second by Anderson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed say nay. Okay, the consent agenda is approved. Thank you for that. Okay, next we have reports. And the first item on our reports is for the school board. It's my agenda item, and it's about our superintendent evaluation. So on July 13th, 2021, we met as a school board in closed session for the purpose of evaluating our superintendent, Christine Tucci-Osorio, and rated her performance against 4 goals. Her first goal is successfully lead the district through COVID-19 pandemic.
Wish it were over.
Right. Number 2, lead the district through pre-planning, design, construction, and transition phases of facility master plan, including boundary changes. Number 3, increase learner outcomes through implementation of 622's strategic plan. And number 4, strengthen the district focus on equity and integration. She also has 2 professional development goals. The first one is continue advocating for District 622 among metro and state leaders. And number 2, continue her doctoral studies program along with the integration application of this new learning in the daily role of superintendent for 622. So when we met, we rated her on average 9 out of 10 on the 10-point scale. Superintendent Tucci-Osorio was rated outstanding as a superintendent for our district. We're amazed by Christine's many accomplishments, all while dealing with the challenge of COVID. Christine went above and beyond to keep our students and staff safe. We acknowledge that this was an incredibly difficult and challenging year. Her facilities work is fantastic and has become a great source of pride in our district. As a student-focused leader, Christine set a strong culture, and we're hopeful for the future. We are so proud to have Christine as our superintendent. We're proud of her reputation throughout the state and appreciate her community involvement. We're also extremely thankful for the positive impact she and her staff have made in the lives of our students. Thank you very much, Christine.
Thank you so much. As I've said before, I couldn't be more appreciative of the board that we have, a board that is really willing to step up and do what's right in the terms of equity work we're trying to do, build equitable outcomes for all of our learners, and I'm really grateful for all of your leadership as well. So thank you for that partnership.
All right, thank you. Does anybody want to add anything before we move on to the next agenda item? No? Okay, if not, then the next agenda item is Superintendent Tucci-Osorio with update.
Okay, Madam Chair, Directors of the Board, tonight I wanted to take a few moments to talk to you a little bit about our back to school COVID planning. And for the purpose of this particular presentation, I want to speak pretty specifically to our mask recommendation. There's so much, as you hear in the news, all around us, lots of controversy, lots of decisions being made by unique individual school districts about this because This is not something that's been decided at a state level. It has to be decided at a local level. So I wanted to walk through, for those who might be viewing from home or might be watching this recording later, just to have a better understanding of some of the data points we looked at when weighing this decision. So as we think about how we want to best keep our students and staff healthy with our schools open for in-person learning, there are 5 different areas we looked at for consideration in this decision-making process. And these are listed here, and I'll walk you through those 5 as we progress through this. The first consideration is what's happening currently today with county case rates, COVID case rates in our 2 counties, Washington and Ramsey County. This data was pulled Friday, as this presentation was sent to Board Book on Friday. So this is a look at Ramsey County. One thing to notice in Ramsey County, if it felt like in June and July there wasn't a lot of COVID going around, you're correct, there wasn't. If you look at those case rates, they were at very low transmission in June and July. But as you can see right now, we're at a very high transmission period right now. For those who may have been looking at this particular graphic in the past, they did change the measurement. It used to be per 10,000 people. It's now per 100,000 people because they wanted to align this particular dashboard with what the CDC puts out. But I think what's most important to look at here is, are we in the yellow, the orange, or the red? And you can see that we're in the red. This is Ramsey County. This is Washington County, which is in substantial transmission. And this is our school district, which is that part of both of those boundaries. And you can see we're very well into the red as far as our school district current case rates for COVID right now. The second thing was, who are our students? Who's being impacted by COVID? So I pulled out the data that looks at our student demographics in District 622 as compared with the state of Minnesota. And you can see that the vast majority of our 622 students are students of color. The reason that's important is when you look at the impact of COVID, you really see a disproportionality. First, I looked at who's catching COVID, who's testing positive for COVID. And if you look at that 5 to 19 age group range, who gets COVID? There are some variations. Clearly, our Latinx population is probably the most affected of these different demographic groups in terms of sheer numbers in that age range. These are folks who catch COVID, but not a huge range. Now let's look at who gets very sick with COVID. You see a big difference all of a sudden. Who ends up in the intensive care units of our hospitals? By the way, this is Minnesota data, and you can see all of a sudden a great disparity between white patients and non-white patients. Who gets very sick and ends up in the ICU? Third, who dies from COVID? Again, you can see that disparity. White patients are less likely to die from COVID than our counterparts. And I want to remind you, as every district makes those decisions, we have to start with who are our students, right? And that's where we have a moral obligation to pay attention to these data points. Next, as we debated and had this conversation about where do we require masking in our schools? Early on, in fact, at our last study session, I told you that I was kind of on the fence with high school. It made sense to me for sure through our youngest age groups, because in our youngest age groups, age under 12 cannot be vaccinated yet. But I wanted to look and see, okay, of our 12 to 18-year-olds, how many are vaccinated? Because the truth of the matter is, we can say we don't need to require masks at high school because they can be vaccinated. But are they vaccinated? That is the next slide. I've dug into the data and I found that of our 12 to 18-year-olds, the vast majority are not vaccinated. So these are who has completed the whole vaccine series. And if you look at this, interestingly, even if among our white students, only 40% have been vaccinated, which means 60% have not in that eligible age range. And I was just listening, today some news stories were talking about the fact that of eligible 12 to 18-year-olds in the state of Minnesota who've been vaccinated, we're still less than a fourth have been vaccinated. Now, who has been vaccinated? Look at the 65 plus range. And think about that. They've had more months to do so, right? They were the first group that was able to get vaccinated. And as you see, it is kind of lagging here among those younger groups. So when the argument is don't put on masks on our high school kids because they're vaccinated, truth is they're not vaccinated, not sufficiently so. So as we looked at the guidance that came from the Department of Health and the CDC, we have been told that when masking exists in classrooms, we do not have to send home those close contacts. Remember how last year, before vaccines were in the system, if someone caught COVID, we had to then send home a whole bunch of folks who were around those positive test cases. This year, the guidance from the health department is if everybody is masked, we don't have to send those bystanders home to be quarantining. We only have to send home the person who tests positive. So that is one of the reasons we very much look differently at the masking opportunity right now, because we want to keep kids in school. There was a lot of disruption last year, and our goal is to try to have as smooth of a school year as possible. The next thing, we also really took time to think about, what do our public health experts say? It's no secret, the CDC, Department of Health, and this latest guidance from Ramsey County was very strongly recommending that schools require all folks to be masked in those school settings. And so they're recommending universal indoor masking by all students. And I have the cited sources there as well. Now, I have had conversations, and there have been people who've called me and for various reasons concerned about masking, concerned about mental health of students, concerned about how uncomfortable it is. And one of the things I have heard folks say is, well, why are you requiring it when the CDC and the health department isn't requiring it? The reason for that is they can't. They don't have jurisdiction over our schools. As you know, Governor Walz no longer has those emergency executive powers. So he no longer is able to do the masking for all. And those health departments, the CDC, Minnesota Department of Health, do not have jurisdiction over public schools. And so it is left in our hands to make those decisions under current law and under current guidance. And so we are pushed in a position where we're supposed to go and look at the guidance and follow the best things we can. That's why I wanted to take time to really look at the data that we were looking at. How does our county look right now? How are our students coming along with the vaccination rates? And so that is why we made the recommendation. Our recommendation goes into effect August 19th. We did that because we're still finishing a little bit of summer programming, and we didn't want to have confusion there. So we're starting it this August, which is this Thursday. Face masks will be required in District 622 buildings, and it's going to be required for students and staff at all of these levels, regardless of vaccination status. And by the way, federal mandate is that anyone riding on public transportation, whether it be city buses, airlines, and also school buses, must be masked anyway. So that's already been put in place. Active athletes, when they're not in active participation or competition, we're going to ask you to mask up. If you're on the sidelines or you're in the locker room, we're wanting people to be masked up, because that's where we saw a lot of transmission happening in the past as well. I want to remind everybody, these are not our only precautions, but this is the precaution that's getting a lot of attention right now. We are continuing with PPE and face shields. You may recall we bought those air purifiers last year for all of our classrooms with some of those federal CARES money. And by the way, some wonderful research has come out showing that those actually do have a difference, especially when such an airborne virus as this. We have hired, are in the process of continuing to hire additional custodians for cleaning. We're going to continue to send exposure notifications. We are currently working with our local counties to set up vaccination clinics at both Tartan and North. We have one established for Tartan coming up, not just for Tartan students, but for the whole community at Tartan. We've still staggered our bus routes for cleaning between those routes. We're still going to figure out if there are students who have to be quarantined, how we're going to provide support for those learners if somebody does test positive. And then, of course, we'll be bringing back online our COVID dashboard so that we can report cases if they do pop up in our schools. So with that, I would like to just honor any questions, comments that we may have from our board members.
Christine, what about testing? Can you give us your thoughts about providing testing for those who are not vaccinated?
Yes, thank you for that. We just got some new guidance that came out this afternoon from the Department of Education, and there's going to be a big conference call tomorrow talking about testing opportunities for schools. and we are looking at having testing come back online. As you recall, we did provide testing opportunities in our schools last year, and we were awaiting guidance from the state as to whether they were going to provide us with that opportunity, and it looks like they are. We just got some preliminary information late this afternoon about that. We should have some more information in the coming week. Thank you.
I'm actually pleased that we're taking this stance. You know, we've come a long ways in this district in creating data and following data when we make decisions. And I think that's been reflected in the work we do, the academic standards that we employ in the classroom, and the judgment that we use when we spend the public's money. And I think that we have a strong obligation for many reasons to keep our students safe, whether it's anywhere from bullying in the classroom to protecting students' mental health to keeping them physically safe. And I think that we also made a promise to the public that we would bring students back to class when it was safe to do so. And I think we've been able to provide that path forward for the students returning this fall, and I thank you and your staff for all the work you did to put this together.
Thank you. If you've noticed in the news, some of the southern states where schools open earlier than we do, they've seen quite some outbreaks and had to close down schools and send many, many kids home to quarantine, and we just want to try to avoid that at all costs. We want our kids to have in-person learning and get back to some normalcy.
I just want to thank you for presenting the demographic data of, in regards to Minnesota and about who gets sick and who gets hospitalized and who dies. Considering that the majority of our students are students of color, I really appreciate that we're taking these health precautions to keep them safe. So thank you.
Thank you. It is so important.
From what I understand, the rate in which children are being hospitalized is increasing. So I just kind of want to throw that in there as another reason why these mask mandates, while they may just be one step, it's one big step that is going to help us put an end to this virus.
Agreed. And honestly, just today, we were trying to look for that hospitalization rate information and, just got confirmation that today in Minnesota, there's more than twice as many kids hospitalized as there were this time last year, which was right on the upswing of that fall, really acceleration of the virus. Agreed.
All right, thanks, Christine.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Okay, next on our agenda, we have action items from the business office. We have acknowledgement of contributions. And tonight, that is me. So I'm gonna. Okay, Minnesota Statute 12(3)B.02 permits school boards to receive for the benefit of the district bequests, donations, or gifts for any proper purpose and apply the same to the purpose designated. In that behalf, the board may act as trustee of any trust created for the benefit of the district and for the benefit of the pupils thereof. Therefore, the Director of Business Service recommends the following resolution. Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District number 622 that the school board accept with appreciation the following contributions and permit their use as designated by the donors. Donor is Tartan Soccer Booster Club, $8,500 for Tartan Soccer. We have 3M Match Mark Matthews via Cyber Grants, $500 for North Robotics. And then we have the Kinney Family Foundation, $10,000 for Community Bridge. This brings our total fiscal year contributions to, for 2020-2021 to $22,636.20. So with that, I would like to ask for a motion and a second to approve. Okay, moved by Anderson, second by Martins. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed say nay. Okay, that is approved, and thank you so much to those donors. Next on the agenda, we have from the business office Viking demo change order.
Okay, I'll speak to that.
Okay.
So as we discussed during our work session last time, we do have a change order here. As you know, that a change order that anytime is over $175,000 or more has to come to the board as an action item. So this change order is for our contract with Viking Demolition, who is working on our Skyview project. This majority of this change order is for the demolition of the roof, the brick roof at Skyview. As it is, the brick around the roof is crumbling and not secure and needs to be removed so that a new replacement solution can be constructed. This is one of those unforeseen circumstances. So after reviewing the submitted documents, they calculated the amount for this is going to be $250,000, and that I feel like that's a reasonable amount. As Randy talked about at the last work session, there may be some additional change orders that come attached to this same problem that we're seeing there. But remember that we do have a $2 million fund in the contingency bucket for unforeseen circumstances. And so this is one of those items there. And so I'm recommending that we go ahead with the Viking demo change order and that we approve it as presented.
All right, thank you, Christine. Any comments or questions before I read the resolution? Okay, if not, be resolved by the School Board of Independent School District 622 that change order number 6 submitted by Viking Demo for $264,891 be approved and the contractor's construction contract be updated to reflect said change order. Can I get a motion and a second to approve?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Livingston,
Second.
second by Natardi. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed say nay. Okay, the change order is approved. Thank you for that. Next, we have District 622 long-term facility maintenance.
And I will speak to that as well. Madam Chair, Directors of the Board, as you know, that we are an approved school district by the Minnesota Department of Education for our long-term facilities maintenance program. And so our board must approve an updated 10-year LTFM plan. And remember, LTFM funds are those that are used for replacing existing buildings and structures, replacing elements, replacing roofs, not constructing anything new. And so working with Wold Architects and Adelson and Peterson, who have done our construction work together, they've costed out under Randy's leadership and our team as well. We have Mike Boland here as well, who's been a really big part of all of that, to try to cost out the plan for our LTFM projects that we foresee happening in the next 10 years. And you all had this presented to you at our work session earlier this month. And so this is, I'm recommending at this time that you go ahead and approve the long-term facilities maintenance 10-year plan that is presented to you and was presented to you at the work session this month.
All right, thanks, Christine. Steve?
If you could just take a second for clarification for the viewing audience, that the long-term facilities plan gets modified and updated on a regular basis. So even though we refer to it as a 10-year plan, it's really a 10-year process. So if you could just speak to that for a second for
Absolutely.
people who might want to know that.
Thank you, Steve, for reminding us of that. This is definitely a plan. It is a 10-year plan, which means it's going to be updated and modified along the way, and we'll certainly be coming back. You'll see regular updates on this plan as we move along, and we need to certify that every year as we get started with the school year, but certainly we'll be coming back to you with any proposed changes, particularly as we move forward with our facilities planning, our longer-term facilities planning, once we get start looking past our current construction projects to where we head next with some of the renovations and updates that are needed in the district. So please do look for some future updates as well in this area. Thank you for bringing that up.
All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, then I'll read the resolution. Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District number 622 that the school board approve the district's long-term facility maintenance 10-year plan as presented. Can I get a motion and a second for approval? Okay, moved by Hunt. Second by Livingston. All in favor say aye. Aye. And all opposed say nay. Okay, the resolution is approved. Thank you for that. And now next we have the superintendent with revision of policy 616.
Thank you, Madam Chair, directors of the board. I'm bringing forward to you policy 616 for its third and final reading and approval. Tonight is the night we're going to vote on this change. This particular board policy, as you know, we do go through a series of our board policies every year to kind of look at what needs updating. And this one is our school district system of accountability. And the part of this policy that we're proposing to change for this year is the part that kind of talks about our continuous improvement graphic. We used to have a graphic attached to this policy that was somewhat confusing. And what we have in our new version and proposed version is a clearer graphic that will show better that process for continuous improvement, curriculum review cycles, and how we connect our work to advisory. And so with that, I am recommending that you approve the updated revisions, proposed revisions for School Board Policy 616.
All right, thank you, Christine. Any comments or questions? Okay. If not, be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District 622 hereby revises the following policy, 616, School District System Accountability. Can I get a motion and a second? So moved. Okay, moved by Martins. Second. Second by Anderson. All in favor say aye. Aye. And all opposed say nay. Okay, that policy revision is approved. And thank you again, Christine, for that. Next, on the fastest board meeting we've ever had, I believe. We have board communications. And Julia, I don't know, do you want to start?
Sure. I just want to also kind of echo what Steve said and Ben about the efforts that have been put into place and are ongoing with the health and safety of the staff and students in our district, because I think a lot of other districts are probably looking at what we're doing, and I think we're doing a really good job of being smart with the decisions and thinking about them and not being knee-jerk. And I think the support we have received from the community is really beneficial to us as well. So thank you, Christine, to you and your team, and really taking a deeper dive into the data for us.
I don't really have a whole lot tonight, but I just want to welcome back all the district staff that are coming back for another wonderful year. So thank you for being such great staff.
I have the unique opportunity this year of looking at the beginning of the school year through the lens of a senior. And it's been kind of unique, the discussions we've had at home about how it's going to be different going back to school. That it's not even, for her, it's not even about the masking and COVID and everything else. It's about the reconnection of the classroom and the activities and being face-to-face with people and the social integration of being with her friends again in the same place at the same time. She's really kind of excited about that in a sort of, let's wait and see how this turns out sort of attitude. But I also want to echo what Charlotte said, that I know that our staff is going to be up to all the challenges of bringing the students back in the classroom this fall, and I'm excited to see what our board meeting results are going to be in September as we look back at the beginning of the school year this time.
All right, thanks, Steve. And I also want to welcome back the staff, students, and families to the district. And I appreciate the support that the district has given to the mask policy, given that we can see on the news that it hasn't gone as smoothly with some districts. We didn't know what to expect tonight, and we're so glad that we don't have a room full of angry parents that don't want their children to mask. Christine, thanks for that presentation, laying out exactly why we made that decision. And like Steve said, we just want our kids back in school, so I think this is the best way to do it. All right. Next on the agenda is future board meeting dates. We have the September 21st, 2021 business meeting at 6 p.m. in the boardroom. With that, again, the shortest board meeting I think we've ever had. Can I get a motion and a second to adjourn? Moved by Livingston. Second by Anderson. All in favor say aye. Aye. And all opposed say nay. Okay, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Board members, if any of you want me to